Hey guys, it's Eric here with the AdCast. And you know, like the old saying says, you gotta let go if you wanna grow. So one thing we did was we actually let go of our old podcast, which was called Your Daily Development, and it morphed into what we call right now the AdCast. I want you to take a listen, and I hope you enjoy. This is the AdCast. Today, my guest is none other than Miss Kiosha Boyles. She is a digital genius. That's right. I said digital genius. And she's going to back it up. This is your daily development.
Welcome to your daily development with your host, Eric Elliott.
This is your daily development, and I am excited to have the one and only Kiosha Boyles with us today. For our listeners, this is going to be a treat. And first off, I want to tell our listeners thank you for helping us grow and continuing to spread the word. And don't forget to leave a review after this podcast. A 1 star is cool, but we like 5 stars around here. So I want to welcome an expert, a guru. She is like the digital princess. You like that title, Miss Kiosha?
I like that.
I have none other than Miss Kiosha Boyles with me from Digitized Marketing. Miss Kiosha.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I need to take you on the road with me.
Oh, awesome. I will be your digital hype man any day. So, Ms. Kiosha, thank you for being on with us today for your daily development. I don't want to botch your bio because you have an impressive resume. So if you could, please go ahead and tell our listeners, for the folks who've been living under a rock, exactly who you are and what you do.
Yes. So, again. So thank you again for having me today. So Kiosha Boyles, I own Digitized Marketing. It is a web marketing firm that specializes in inbound marketing and social media. I've been working in marketing and communications for close to a decade now, working with a variety of clients in the local, regional, and national sectors, working anywhere from nonprofit to entertainment and retail. So really have been able to see how digital marketing and social media apply to so many different industries, but there are still some core principles that apply to all of them, but that they can use to the benefit and to the growth of their organization. So I'm excited to dive into all of that today and to help your listeners to grow their businesses and their brand.
I'm excited. I told you I did not want to start doing her bio and screw this thing up. So I am really excited to especially talk about digital and social today. And those are some of the topics that you and I are going to cover today. Kiosha, let's dive in if that's okay with you.
Sounds great. Let's go.
So I've heard advertisers kind of say this, and us, we, alongside of you, and in full disclosure to our listeners, we have partnered with Miss Boyles before, and I can tell you she's good. She's very, very good. And there's some things that we've learned from you. So I'll just go ahead and say thank you already. But I've spoken to advertisers before where they thought social media marketing would be a fad when it comes to advertising for your business. What can you say about that? I don't believe it, but what do you think?
Well, I experienced a lot of that when I first started my business. I felt like I had to convince a lot of businesses on why they should go to social media, why is this important. But in the last few years, I feel as though most of the businesses that I've talked to are starting to understand the value of social media and at least recognize that it's here to stay in some form or fashion. So it may not always be Snapchat, it may not always be Instagram, but the construct of social media, I think people are starting to begin to see the lasting power as well as the impact of it. And so I have begun to see, of course, there's different trends and social media platforms will come and go, but I believe that the connectivity that we've been provided, the way that we can engage and consume information on our own terms, I believe that that's created such a shift in how we engage that I see that continuing even if the platforms change.
You made a great point because a lot of business owners didn't take it serious. And I'm going to be very honest, about 6 years ago, I myself didn't take it as serious as we do now. Now I ask more about the social analytics than I do the digital analytics on our website. It's very, very important. But I want to go back to what you said, like how when folks did not take it serious, it seemed like when businesses did have, let's just start with one 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is Facebook, they saw social media platforms as, let's get one so we can kind of check it off the list. Did you see the same?
Right. Right. I did. I did. It was, well, everybody's on Facebook. Well, let's just check it out. Let's see what happens. And I believe that was often the approach that people took when it came to developing a social media presence.
Do you find that it's harder, or is it easier now to teach people the value of social media platforms?
I feel like it's a bit easier because one, most of the companies or the people that I am in contact with, at least they're beginning to recognize this as a valid tool to increase their marketing, increase sales, and increase their brand exposure. Now the question I get is, okay, well, we know this is important. We believe we should be here, but what do we do with it?
Hmm.
And so I feel like that is typically where I am now with most people I'm connecting with, is showing them, okay, how can you leverage this to meet your business goals, meet the goals of your personal brand. So I feel like that is more of the lane that I'm in now, showing them how can they leverage these tools to grow their own personal organizations.
Do you see where advertisers are moving dollars towards social media more than traditional media?
I have, and I've seen that simply because when it comes to social media, we really can receive real time analytics, so we can see, is our ad getting the number of impressions that we're looking for. We can see the demographics of the people that we are targeting. If we have some lead generation tool in place or analytics on our website, we can see where those individuals are coming from and be able to measure if what we're doing is effective. And oftentimes, if you have a billboard, we can hope that people saw it, and we can hope that they paid attention to
Hmm.
it, or a radio ad. We can hope that they didn't turn the channel when it came time for the commercials, but we really don't have those measurements in place to see, is this being effective, and are we really getting a return on our investment? And social media really provides you those analytics to be able to gauge where you are, help you to shift along the process, and helps you to validate you putting those resources in those different areas.
Yeah, I kind of see it as some of the social and digital marketing has kind of held traditional marketing accountable. Um, you, I see it as it's holding it accountable for the spend that it got, because in my eyes, the traditional media it's traditional, is what it is. It's you are confined to a 15-second, 30-second, 60-second, or even a 120-second. You're confined to that, where I can launch a video that's 2 minutes and 43 seconds. So I feel like it's kind of held digital media accountable, but traditional media accountable. What I want to ask you now is, how have you seen social media kind of change the advertising industry?
Well, I believe nowadays people have more ways to consume information and entertainment more than ever before, but they also have more ways to block advertisements, to block information as well. And in the advertising industry, I believe that it's caused marketers and advertisers to be more creative in the way that we present content. The goal nowadays is really to make sure that we are engaging versus being disruptive, and engaging enough that people choose to opt into your communications, that they choose to follow your Facebook page, they choose to follow your YouTube channel, that they want to stay up to date with your information, they want to see what's going on with your brand, versus just selling or shouting from the rooftops, here's what we do, here's what we sell. I believe that the engaging and entertainment factor is certainly there, because people have so many ways that they can consume information. We really have to cut through the clutter by really providing something that's valuable and things that they really want to see.
Uh, Man, I'll tell you, you're hitting a nail on the head. Every day there's some new app. There's some new it thing. What do you think? What do you think is the 800-pound gorilla as far as social media right now?
Well, it's certainly still Facebook. It's Facebook. It's a billion users. They own Instagram, so there's dots of connectivity that we're now seeing there with between Instagram and Facebook. But also, Facebook has the infrastructure to duplicate the features of all the new niche social media platforms that are rising. So from now, we have Facebook Stories, which is in direct competition with Snapchat. We also have Facebook Live, a feature that was made popular by Periscope. So not only is it has a largest user base, but they have the tools and resources to duplicate all of the new social media platforms and all the new features that people are gravitating to those platforms for. So I've been finding a lot of people, once they ventured over to Snapchat, now they've been coming back to Facebook because of the Facebook stories, or
Hmm.
they've been coming back to Facebook because it now has all the features that you can find in all of these supporting outlets, and you may already have a presence there. So when you have the new feature like Periscope, it was a great tool,
Hmm.
but you oftentimes had to build an audience there. Whereas Facebook Live, you have that same tools to use with the audience that you've already created. So it's really still that dominating force when it comes to social media.
What are your thoughts on Twitter? It seemed like Twitter was on life support until Donald Trump started using it. You know.
Yeah, I've been seeing that it's definitely been an increase of people who are starting Twitter accounts, and typically a lot of people are starting them to be able to follow the news and follow, political figures and celebrities and see what's going on in the world. I really thought that with Twitter that it could have been a lot bigger than it currently is. I
Yeah.
think
Same
if you
here.
remember a
Same here.
couple years ago, I think every TV commercial said,
Mhm.
follow us on Twitter or, use this hashtag to join the conversation. I feel like they really could have leveraged that a lot more. So I'm hopeful with the new rise and popularity with social media that they find some way to distinguish themselves from other platforms and really help to carve out, why they still have that. I feel like they still have some room to really distinguish themselves, but I think like now is the time for them to really start carving that out and figuring out what the future of that platform will be.
So how should we start using? Because there is a business owner right now who may be listening to you or listening to me, and they're wondering, okay, I have a Facebook, I have a Twitter, and I have a YouTube, and I have a Snapchat, and they have all these things, but they don't know how to use them. Let's talk about the top three. I guess, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. How should you use Instagram?
Well, what I would first ask the business owner is what are you looking to accomplish? What are your business goals? What are the goals that you're trying to accomplish with social media? Because that will first dictate which platform you use. It will also dictate the content that you share, and it will dictate the way that you measure the results.
Okay.
So if your goal is to build brand awareness, there will be different strategies that we will put in place than if your goal is to increase sales or to boost fundraising or to attract new employees. So I think starting with what your end goal is, I think that's the first step is seeing what you're looking to accomplish. The second step there, I would say, is who is your target audience? Who are you looking to communicate to? So if your target audience is uh, college students and you only have a Facebook presence, you're probably missing that entire demographic.
Absolutely.
Or if you're, entirely B2B, but you really may not have dabbled in LinkedIn, maybe we could be missing some opportunities there. So I think it really starts with understanding who's your target audience and where do they have a majority presence when it comes to social media. And then from there, that can help you to decide which social media platforms you need to have a presence.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Now, I want to jump ahead a
Okay.
little bit here because I see social media kind of falling into the little sister or probably the big sister of digital advertising one day. How do you perceive SEM marketing? And I'm talking Google AdWords, display advertising, YouTube advertising. How do you view that?
So I think that has actually been taking a bit of a curve for me lately. But one of the things that I have seen is that mobile is continuing to grow, and consumers are continuing to conduct more searches, but they are being very hyper local. So when people are searching now, they're looking to say what's near me, what's restaurants near me, or where are salons near me. And so I believe that what makes search engine marketing effective is when we are focusing on targeting those ads by location, because that's typically how people are searching for content. Or even if we typing in a particular store, Google Maps will pull up things that are near your area. And so I think what will make that most effective is if people are having a more targeted search engine marketing efforts so that they can see more of a direct results for what people are actually searching and looking for.
I couldn't agree with you more. For the one location, just for using this for example, one location dry cleaners, they feel they need to be on the number one television station in the market where they may not need that. You're talking to people who don't need your services, where if you are that one location dry cleaners, I mean, you have a 3 to 5 mile ring on people who are going to use your services, not someone who's 15 miles away or someone who is at the tip ends of wherever the station reaches. I think many times the advertisers, they get it wrong because sometimes they don't know what they want in the beginning. They just know they need to advertise. Do you ever see that or run into that?
I do. That they say, well, everyone's on Facebook, I need to be on Facebook, or everyone's online, I need to be online. But again, I think it really starts with being clear of what you want to accomplish, and also I try to drill in as much as I can that it's not about being everywhere, but it's about being at those places that are most effective and where your current target market is currently going. So it really starts with having a clear understanding of your brand, clear understanding of your target audience, and what you're trying to accomplish. So it really kind of goes back to those three areas.
Wow. We are giving it to them today, I'll tell you. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to pay some bills really quick, and we're going to be back with Miss Kiosha Boyle, Mrs. Kiosha Boyles. And she had a birthday the other day. By the way, happy birthday. So we'll be right back.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.
That was just some awesome info and a great discussion with Miss Kiosha Boyles. That's right. She had a birthday just the other day, and I even sang to her on the break, so you won't get a chance to hear it. So we're going to end it right here because we have so much more to cover, and we're going to air it again next week. We're going to have part 2 with Miss Kiosha Boyles on Your Daily Development. Welcome to part 2 of Your Daily Development with Mrs. Kiosha. Episode 1 with Miss Kiosha was just awesome. Now we have a part 2, and I'm telling you, there's more. So stay close, put your headphones in really tight, get into a nice comfortable position because I think we're going to just give you some knowledge right now.
Welcome to Your Daily Development with your host, Eric Elliott.
Miss Kiosha, you there?
I'm here.
All right. So we had so much stuff we had to do a part 2. So I want to dive into it again and be respectful of our listeners' time. Have you noticed the traditional dollars coming away from traditional and going more towards digital and social? And my reason for saying that was I watched an episode of Meet the Press, and they predicted that next year or even this year, 2018, that digital advertising will surpass traditional advertising dollars.
Well, I definitely agree with that. I've seen that just from monitoring trends with other brands, but also seeing that in the clients that I've worked with. So I was working with a large event here in Columbia, South Carolina. And what we saw is that from year to year, I worked with it about 3 years. Each year, more advertising dollars were being directed towards social media.
Wow.
And one of the things that we saw from year to year is that we were able to track tickets that were being sold directly from our social media channels. We were able to see, a lot more of the engagement, even some grant and federal dollars that were going into the event. We were able to say we have people coming in from this particular county, people from this particular state. So it provided us the analytics that we needed to be able to validate the resources that were being poured into the event, and we really could be able to speak to that when we were preparing for the upcoming year. So the analytics that we were provided, the engagement that was there, we did not, of course, have that two-way conversation to be able to address questions, to have that customer service, to deal with crisis management that we do have with social media. So it just provided more of a return for us. Also, in some markets where we were advertising, we were seeing a decline in some of the traditional platforms. So some of the newspapers had seen declining subscriptions. They'd been able to see sort of some cutbacks in radio and other print. So we really saw social media as something that was growing, something that had the attention of our target audience and would be the best fit for our advertising dollars.
Wow, that's amazing. Another thing that we didn't talk about this, but one reason why I really like social media is that everyone can afford it. If you think about a large, broadcaster in a market, not even a large, I mean, a small town like Columbia or even Charleston, top tier stations, it's hard for you to be able to afford the 6 o'clock news or the morning news because that is where they charge you higher rates there because that is their audience. That's when they have the largest audience. So they sell it to you for that price. But throughout the day, if I'm advertising on Facebook or using Twitter ads or LinkedIn ads, I mean, it is what it is. Everyone can afford digital and social. You don't have to have a huge pocket, a huge pocketbook. I made this comment in one of our videos, Marketing Minute, was traditional advertising is about the width of your wallet, and new media is the width of your brain, and it's true,
That's so true. That's so true. I oftentimes when I talk with small businesses, they will say, "Well, can I afford social media advertising? Can I afford digital advertising?" And I always say, the amount you spend is up to you, and that gives you a lot of flexibility. So you can start small, begin to measure those results, and then be able to grow over time. And you can also, again, have hyperlocal advertising so that it's going directly to the people that have the potentials to be your potential customers. So the return that you receive is excellent.
I remember even years ago, we talked about folks who don't take their marketing campaign serious. There are some businesses where if you talk to them about managing their social media, they see it as, okay, you're just going to post on my stuff. I can get my niece, my nephew, or my granddaughter to do that. Whereas, we see it as social media publishing and listening, because nowadays I notice people are going to leave a Facebook review quicker than they leave a Google review on you, So how do you combat it when a business owner says to you, oh, yeah, when they don't take their social media platform, whatever the platform, they don't take it serious, and they think, oh, I can just have my niece or my nephew do that for me. When we know they don't understand algorithms. They don't understand how the news feed works, or they don't understand how the back end of Facebook works, where we can read analytics or run ads or everything else. So how do you combat that?
So one of the things that I ask prospective clients when they mention a relative or an intern manager, I simply ask them, are you comfortable putting your brand's reputation and the future of your company in a student or in your family member's hands?
That's a good one.
And I often tell them that, yes, they probably can do a good job tweeting and posting on Facebook. They probably understand the functions of each of these platforms. But where I oftentimes see the disconnect is when it comes to developing a content strategy. As you mentioned, measuring analytics, being able to determine, are we receiving an ROI? Are we receiving a return on our investments? Dealing with crisis management. I've had several clients that I've had to work with
Oh, same here.
during the flood that we had here in South Carolina. There were some difficulties that happened in some businesses, and we had to navigate what's the best approach. How do you deal with customers when they post on your page and that they've maybe had a negative experience? And we don't, of course, we work hard to ensure that no one walks away
Hmm.
with anything negative about our company, but sometimes things will happen. And you have to have someone who's monitoring your brand that knows how to respond, that knows how to deal with conflict when it arises, and are able to salvage that relationship and possibly to keep that customer. So when it comes to a lot of those areas, and when we really dig deep down into what this role would really entail, as well as providing them examples of people and of brands that did not put this in place,
Wow.
and the result of that on their business, I'm able to see a bit more understanding of why a bit more experience is needed to really have an effective social media campaign and presence.
Well, I think few people need to really start taking this stuff serious. When I say this stuff, I mean social media platforms and digital advertising. You need to see Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. You need to see those platforms and look at them the same way you do CBS, NBC, and ABC. And Fox. You have to look at them that way because, even those huge brands that I just said, they all are relying on social media advertising. I mean, I had this conversation come up in the podcast previously where there are no shows like Friends anymore that are going to last 10, 15 years or like Seinfeld. Now, I think the networks are struggling for content. They are struggling for content, and sometimes they use these shows. Like, I'll give you an example. I wasn't, don't tell anyone this, I was an avid watcher of Scandal. And it was huge. It was huge, and it was all the talk on social media was about what was she wearing or how she handled something with with her dad in an episode, and that show relied on social media to help boost it. And now people don't talk about it anymore. I don't hear people talk about it anymore. So it's almost like our attention span. We get impatient with things like that. Where now you have shows like Netflix, when they release a season, if you watch Orange Is the New Black, you don't have to wait every week to watch a show. You can binge watch the entire season in 2 weekends. And it's almost like prime time from the networks don't matter anymore because now prime time is your time.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.
And it's almost like prime time from the networks don't matter anymore because now prime time is your time.
I definitely have seen that same shift, and I was an avid Scandal fan too, so no need to be a secret fan. But I definitely have seen that shift, and I think one of the things that brands have to think about, if they're hesitant about diving into social media or hesitant about going into digital marketing, is just I try to stress to them the importance of making sure that they are staying on top of new trends, that they're staying abreast of communications. You really don't want to become the blockbuster of your industry.
Oh my gosh.
You don't want the next red box, the next Netflix to come because they are looking ahead. They're seeing the trends. They're seeing what's next, and they're adapting to that. And so, as business owners and as marketers, we can't be stuck in one way of doing things. We have to take risk. We have to explore. We really have to branch out and see what would be most beneficial to our brand and to the future success of that organization. And so it really is it's vital to make sure that we're staying on top of trends and that we're looking ahead.
But with a lot of with a lot of not just customers, advertisers or our clients, they focus on their business. They focus on their business a lot. So, do they need people like you and like me? Just honestly speaking, do they need folks like us? Because we have to be on top of trends because we have to pivot our companies or pivot our agencies at a technology notice, at technology's notice. You know what I mean? So what I mean is, like, should they hire someone like us so that they should focus on their business?
Absolutely. That is one of the things that I stress with clients. If you are a lawyer, you need to be staying up to date with the latest policies. You need to be focused on your current clients. You need to be focused on that. Whereas we as the marketers and the communicators and advertisers, we are focused on the new trends and can be able to be that content experts that they need to grow their brands. With so many new advances taking place with social media and different platforms overnight, you need someone who can focus on this full time to educate you on what that next move should be for your marketing. And so I think it's vital for businesses, especially small businesses. I think small businesses are oftentimes the ones who mention, well, may not have the budget, or I may not have this, or may not have that. But I think if you want to grow your firm, you want to grow your organization, having a social media presence and investing in your marketing will be vital to the growth.
Well, Kiosha, I tell you, this has just been an awesome episode. I was actually really looking forward to this. I want to go into, I guess, what I call kind of a lightning round, and I want to ask you about different mediums. So I'll ask you about radio, TV, billboard, newspaper, and I want you to sum it up what you think about each of those mediums. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Radio.
I believe radio is great for hyper local content, events and things that are taking place. But of course, with people now having Pandora and Spotify and their own iPod to listen to, it's important to make sure that radio doesn't have the greatest stake in your marketing plan.
Billboard.
In my experience, I've seen billboards to be most beneficial to the organization than oftentimes potential customers. People, employees and maybe your board, they like to see billboards. They like to see themselves there. But oftentimes from a marketing perspective, that's something that we typically can't measure the results for, or really see that return on investment. So sometimes I do think it's great for employee morale to boost the spirits of your internal population.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just one tool in a larger integrated marketing plan.
TV.
TV, again, I think my approach would really be, again, on the hyper local, if your budget would allow for, like you mentioned before, some of those prime spots. Again, the hyper local, we're seeing people navigating to Netflix and so many of the new trends. I think it's important to make sure that a hyper-local approach is the method that we choose if we're navigating to those outlets.
Social
media, I think it is blossoming and growing, but I also think it's important that we don't dive into it simply because it's new and it's a top platform. I think we need to be clear about what our goals are, who our target audience is, and what we're looking to accomplish to really leverage it to its fullest potential.
In newspaper, there's so much more media I could go into, but let's leave it there with newspaper.
Newspapers. I really have been monitoring the newspapers, and in so many markets, I really am beginning to see that decline. I think one of the things that I've seen newspapers missing out on is that ability to be hyper-local. A lot of the content now is coming from the AP and it's coming from larger outlets, and some people really don't see sometimes the value of picking it up. And so I think they're really going to have to turn around their content for people to see the value of it and continuing to invest in it.
You know, what's so funny is I remember, I'll never forget, I won't call their name out, but I remember someone in television actually making fun of the newspaper for doing digital and going to digital. Now I see the TV stations doing exactly what the newspapers do. So, Kiosha,
In order to be relevant
absolutely,
nowadays.
they totally have to. So Kiosha, for these folks who've been listening, give us your website address and how does someone find you? You know, get on your LinkedIn profile, find you on Facebook. How do they do those things?
So they can see me at KioshaBoyles.com. They can also find me on all social media outlets at Kiosha Boyles, or they can go to digitizemarketing.com.
I want to thank you, our guest, Ms. Kiosha Gregg Boyles. I got to make sure I put the Boyles in there. And I want to say thank you to our listeners. Thank you so much for giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. I would love for you guys to go ahead and leave a rating for us inside wherever you listen to your content, if it's on SoundCloud or the iTunes. And be sure to look out for the next Marketing Minute video coming up on Monday. And this has been your daily development. Thank you again. Thank you for the folks who listen to the AdCast and for people giving us their most valuable asset, which is their time. That's the one thing that money cannot buy. If you feel this podcast has been great and it's been a help to you, I'd like for you guys to be able to share it, tell your friends about it, and also share it on social media as well. And like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, you can listen to us anywhere: Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher. You can also watch this podcast on YouTube. And I want to thank our guest again. But to catch up on past episodes, go to veryimportantplacement.com or follow us at VIP Marketing 1. This has been the AdCast.